Welcome to Martini Time. Oh, I've been looking forward to this today, to get my martini and have a chat with you. You don't really, sometimes if I don't have an inspiration in the morning, I forget it, but I always have something in the evening when we come together and talk, because it's like my day is like cooking a stew, I'm cooking ideas and things are brewing inside, and I'm studying and I'm learning and things are happening, people coming over, and so it's kind of like a martini time is sharing time, and it also when I share it, it kind of like it makes it real and gives it, when you share something, it gives it a form, it gives it a reality, it makes it real, other than just perking as chatter in your mind. It's action. When you share, you're acting on it. It's your word. Last night I talked about speak but the word. Speak but your word. What is your word? You see, with a capital W. It's action. It's making yourself real. It's making yourself concrete. Flesh and blood. The word is made flesh and blood. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Oh, you see right up there in the corner? Yeah, I can't point. Oh, I know. Okay, right there. Okay, let me turn the camera a little bit. Okay. There we go. When I came to this house in 1981, after leaving Ganesh Puri and Swami Muktananda and his ashram there, it's about 50 miles south of Bombay. I took the whole family. We sold our house in Cleveland. Went to Ganesh Puri with no idea what we were going to do. Here I had, no career. I had no. All I wanted to do was be with my teacher, to be with Muktananda. And so I sold the house. And we bought a car, and I bought a video recorder, Panasonic video recorder. They were just new then. It cost $700, which was a lot of money, more than it is now. I mean, in 1980 was when I bought it. We went there in the fall of 1980. And I bought it because I wanted to be a center leader. I wanted to have a meditation center. I wanted to be a center leader for Baba Muktananda. That's what I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. I wasn't, whatever else I did, that seemed to be the anchor. That seemed to be the tent pole. It didn't really matter what else I did, So when we came here, after leaving, fresh out of, imagine, living in, of course, Cleveland was, we lived in Cleveland Heights, and that was a lot of spiritual communities up there, and I was in the Light of Yoga Society up there, and we were there for 10 years, during which we got divorced and remarried under Baba Muktananda. And so my whole life had been like that. And I had all these adventures while I was divorced, but we'll get into that later, maybe. Touchy subject. But anyway, we came here in 1981, and as soon as I got here, I put my guru's picture on the wall. And my mother-in-law, whose house this was, said, "Boy, you can't put that up here. What will people think?" And I felt the contraction. I felt the algae coming. I felt the contraction of having lost my center. You see, and when you lose your center, Yeats wrote a poem about it. When the center doesn't hold, mere anarchy is loosed. The idea of when you lose your center, your world fragments. You lose your confidence. You lose your being. You lose your meaning. You lose yourself. There's nothing worse than losing yourself, and yourself is your center. So I found that with Muktananda, But then, 1983, Muktananda died. So, I lost my exterior connection with him. As long as he was alive, the relationship was strong. But then he died. And here I am in this Siddha Yoga wasteland. Don't put that picture on the wall. You see. So it was like I had to go underground. And so I spent about, up until 1967, I spent 7 years trying to get out of Blackstone. Because I couldn't find my center here. If I meet people, it was, you're Tilly. My wife grew up here. Her center was here. Oh, you're Tilly's husband. So I knew if I died, my tombstone would read, "Here lies Tilly's husband." You see? And I think a lot of us have felt like that. Women probably feel like here lies so-and-so's wife, the wife of so-and-so. That's it, you see. But anyway, with me it was reversed. So anyway, back in those 80s, I went through a real strong, and I probably needed therapy because I was bashing around in extreme behaviors, trying to restore, trying to find my center without Muktananda. He had gone. My center had gone. The tent pole had collapsed that I had built up, you see. So I really went through, and I even, got to the point, well, the hell with Muktananda. I took his pictures and the stuff he blessed, and I threw it in the dump. I really just cut the cord. And so then I began to find my ground when I began to write for the Curry Record, and then when I left that, which was another womb, so to speak, and then when I was born out of that, I created my own photography studio, which was another womb. See, we go through these matrices, and if you live long enough, hopefully you will, you can see your life is going through one womb after another, or one matrix after another. And every time we're born into a new matrix, we think, oh, it's a new world and everything, but pretty soon it gets to be a little cramped. It gets to be a little constricted. Something's missing. There's a boundary here. There's a boundary. What is that boundary? We're knocking up against, can't see it, but we're kind of like a blind man. We're in a glass bowl. Bam, bam, wait a minute, there's a wall here. It looks transparent, but I can't go through it. There's something holding me in, you see. What is that? Of course, it's our mind. It's the boundaries on our mind, you see. It's not, there's no boundary out there. It's a physical boundary, but you can always jump over that. Whatever wall you make out there, you can get over it, see. But the mental walls, you can't get over that. See, because you have created it. It's like the boundaries of your ego, the boundaries of yourself. When you're in touch with your heart, when you're in touch with life, life is a development. Life is growth. Life is evolution, which means life in its very existence transcends boundaries. That's what life does, see. But then humanity, us, human beings, you and me, we're not limited by physical boundaries now. Our evolution is in the mind, and from the mind to the heart or spirit. So it goes from the body to the mind to the spirit. And each one of these creates a matrix. Each one of these creates a womb, out of which we must be born again and again and again, you see. There's no one time. Life is a series. It's a Russian nesting doll. It's a series of mothers. It's a series of matrix. It's a series of mayas, you see. Maya, matrix, mother. It all means matrix or field that has a boundary. And it's our destiny, first of all, to discover the suffering of the boundary, and then to find a way through it. So, anyway, so I've been, as I've been sharing, I've been reading a book called Bond of Power by Joseph Chilton Pearce. And he wrote this book about, basically, Joseph Chilton Pearce, and I'll say this again, he was a writer, academic, lecturer on child development, the development of the brain, the stages of brain's development in childhood. And he lectured all over the country, wrote books, very famous, and all that. But he was also a mystic, and he was also a devotee of Swami Muktananda, and had tremendous experiences of Shaktipad, of awakening in Muktananda's presence. And so his book, the little book of Bond of Power, he wrote in the 80s, was basically tying together and explaining Siddha Yoga and Shaktipat and the Siddha Guru in the context of brain development. And this is what the West needs. So us Westerners, we really understand, we don't really, where our intellect is so strong that we have to intellectually understand everything conceptually, and our intellect operates with logic and American and Western science, empirical science. So we like brains. Well, we love brains because you can measure it. Now, particularly, with our technology, you plug a brain up, and you can read the whole thing. You can plug a meditator up and see what's going on. There's tons of studies on the effect of meditation on the brain, But anyway, so he's able to study and understand Siddha Yoga, this ancient lineage in India through Kashmir Shaivism, which is a non-dual lineage that goes back to Shiva, and the Siddha Yoga, or the Guru, who transmits this awakening power to his disciples. So there's an actual transmission, or a nudge, or awakening, or it's called Shaktipat. And the way Pearce describes it is that all brain stage development, and he traces it through childhood. For instance, the infant to the child to the little 7-year-old to 11-year-old to the adolescent to the adult, you see. And so this has all been mapped out in brain science, Piaget, childhood development, you see. But brains develop when there is a model. If there's no model to stimulate the next stage, the brain doesn't go. So if the early child doesn't have a model to stimulate the next stage, it's retarded, or it's stunted, and it's catch-up, you see. And so what he explains is that around the age of 7, before 7, the child is basically centered in its consciousness. And consciousness is the body. So the child is centered in its body, and it tastes and feels and learns through touch. A friend of mine was here, and his child's in Montessori. And they're learning how to do letters by sandpaper. They got sandpaper letters, and they learn the letters by touching. So the child is a body, brain, mind. Body, brain, mind is all one thing. But then around the age 7, there's a shift. And the child then is shifting to an identity with the cultural matrix. And the cultural matrix of the Western society, which is what we are, American, is a semantic language matrix with a social ego identity. A social ego identity. In other words, our ego, our center of consciousness, is formed and maintained by its relationship in our culture, in our society. So if I put that on the wall, And my mother-in-law says, what will people think? You can't put that up there, boy. What will people think? Her ego, her identity is maintained by the community. And she can't do anything that is outside of what they will think, you see. So her identity is maintained by its being in proper alignment with her society. What will people think, you see? That's tremendous fear. And we all experience that in different ways. Even just wearing this. I put this back on, this little mala here. I've got a bunch of them here, but this one I was looking for some. I threw out all of Baba's stuff, you know, and so I didn't throw this out. I had, when I was in India, we went into Bombay, wife and kids, we all went into Bombay, took a train, and I had specific things I wanted to go. I wanted to get some malas that I could bring to my center and give to somebody. So I got some malas, and this is the last one. And Baba blessed this, you see, a little mala. So it was in my drawer, so it hadn't really suffered much, you see. So, and when I put this on, immediately my mother, what will people think? The hell with it. So we all feel that subtly. And see, so I come here to talk to you because I don't care what you think. I mean, I do. But what I mean is, I don't frame my talk on what you may think. So this is kind of like my guru here. You know, so you are my guru. I mean, this Facebook, this live talk, you see. This is the guru principle. Now, here's the thing about a guru. See, I've gotten to, when I say, I wrote this topic on this, Baba Muktananda returns. Okay. So I put the pictures on the wall. I got several up here. I spent the whole morning. I got one thing I did save. I saved all these Siddhapath magazines that have a lot of good pictures of Baba in it. So I spent the whole morning taking pictures and putting them on my desktop saver, my computer. And then I got the ones I like and I made some prints. You see, here's one right here. There he is. So it was a very photogenic person. Everybody was always taking pictures of him because you couldn't take your eyes off of him. It was like you just wanted to sit and look at him, because that's one of the ways Shakti is transmitted, through the look. You see. And there's so many accounts of Baba's Shakti being transmitted when he looked at you, through the look. And in our society, we only really understand the look in two ways. It's the evil look, like you see somebody, you make eye contact with somebody on the subway, and the next minute they're in your face. Are you looking at me? Right? Or you look into a man or a woman's eyes, and suddenly, the look, he's the one. Something happens. Something happens in the look, you see. Well, the look of this Siddha Yoga, a Siddha Guru, was like that, only this was going up to the next matrix outside of the social ego matrix. You see, we all live in this social ego matrix. And the culture that we live in has turned into a tape loop. There's no exit. Our culture doesn't want you to leave and go to the next matrix. Indian culture does. That's why they produce gurus like that. Indian culture has always had an open attic. You could always go and become a siddha. You could always go and become a yogi and a guru and a master, even though you might live on a trash dump. It didn't make any difference, you see. A sadhu wandering. So that whole upper floor was open in India. Our society, it closed it off. As soon as the Enlightenment came up and reality became material and it was measured, and you can't measure what he does, you see. You can't measure the spiritual, you can only measure the material. So we're locked in the material world. And we nailed shut the stairway to heaven. We nailed shut the stairway to awakening. We nailed shut the stairway to our spiritual destiny. Nailed shut, you see. And so we're all wandering around in this in this great big house of materialism, looking for the way out, and it's getting very, very constricted. It's getting very, very angry and anxious. Something's missing. We're missing the boat. The ferry's left us. The cruise ship is gone. We're like Seinfeld, trapped in that cell. Remember the last stage scene of Seinfeld? They're all trapped in this jail cell, repeating their script, saying the same thing over and over and over again. And that's where we are, you see. And so I say, oh, my bell rang, but that's okay. So I said today, Baba Muktananda returns. I'm putting his picture on the wall. I'm putting a mala around my neck, you know. And I'm opening to the Guru principle, which, and I'll close with this, is the same thing as the Christ principle. Christ principle and Guru principle, both the same. So this is not a religion. It's about an awakening to the transcendent and the exit from the social ego in which we're all trapped. So thanks for dropping in. I'll see you tomorrow.